Why is it that throughout history, the moment a man finally grasps the love he's been searching for, something else quietly slips from his hands? Power, influence, the very drive that wants to find him. It's a paradox as old as civilization itself, a riddle that has haunted kings, revolutionaries, artists, and ordinary men alike. Consider the stories we tell about power. The rise of a leader, the ambition of a conqueror, the relentless pursuit of greatness. These tales are etched into the fabric of our culture, celebrated as the highest form of achievement. But hidden within these stories, almost like a shadow, is another narrative, one that begins the moment love enters the picture. What is it about love that seems to unravel the very foundation of a man's strength? Is it the comfort that dulls ambition? The vulnerability that exposes hidden fears? Or is it something deeper, a fundamental shift in identity, a surrender of the self to something larger, more mysterious and uncontrollable? We are taught to believe that love is the ultimate prize, the final destination after a long journey of struggle and sacrifice. But what if that's only half the story? What if, for many men, love is not the crowning achievement, but the silent undoing? What if the very thing we are told to seek is the same thing that quietly erodes our power, our purpose, our sense of self? Tonight, we step into the heart of this paradox. We question the stories we've inherited, the roles we've accepted, and the truths we've never dared to confront. Is love the ultimate victory or the final defeat? Long before the modern world, before skyscrapers and social media, the struggle between love and power was already being written into the very bones of civilization. The ancients understood something we often forget, that love, for all its beauty, can be a force as destructive as it is creative. Consider the story of Samson and Delilah. Samson, a man of legendary strength, feared by his enemies and revered by his people. Yet, it was not the armies of the Philistines that brought him down, but a single woman. Delilah, with her questions and her touch, became the key to his undoing. In the end, Samson's power was not taken by force, but surrendered in the name of love. His story is not just a tale of betrayal, but a warning. Even the mightiest can be undone by the softest hands. Move forward in time, and the pattern repeats. Julius Caesar, conqueror of Gaul, master of Rome, found himself entangled with Cleopatra. Their love affair was legendary, but it also sowed the seeds of political chaos. Caesar's judgment, once sharp and unyielding, became clouded. His enemies saw an opening, and history remembers the Ides of March not just as a political assassination, but as the tragic end of a man who let his heart lead him astray. These are not isolated incidents. From the fall of Troy, sparked by Helen's abduction, to the countless kings who lost their thrones for the sake of forbidden love, history is littered with the ruins of men who traded power for passion. Ancient philosophers and storytellers saw this pattern and issued their warnings. In Greek tragedy, love is often a curse, a divine madness that blinds and destroys. In the East, sages cautioned against attachment, teaching that desire is the root of suffering. Why did these societies fear love's power? Because they recognized its ability to distract, to weaken resolve, to make men forget their duties and their destinies. Love, in these stories, is not just an emotion. It is a test, a temptation, a force that can topple empires as easily as it can build them. These ancient tales are not just relics of a distant past. They are echoes, reminders that the struggle between love and power is woven into the human experience. The question is not whether love will challenge power, but whether we are prepared to face the consequences when it does. What is it that drives men to seek power? Is it simply a quest for dominance? Or is there something deeper, something almost primal, at work beneath the surface? To understand why so many men lose power the moment they find love, we must first unravel the psychology that binds power to the male identity. Evolutionary psychology offers the first clues. For millennia, survival depended on strength, status, and the ability to provide. Power was not just a luxury, it was a necessity. Those who commanded respect, who could protect and provide, were more likely to attract mates and ensure the survival of their lineage. Over generations, this drive became hardwired, a silent engine pushing men to achieve, to conquer, to build. Power became synonymous with worth. Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, saw power as a manifestation of deeper desires. He argued that the pursuit of power is often a substitute for the pursuit of love, and vice versa. When love is lacking, men may seek power to fill the void. But when love is found, the need for power can diminish, sometimes catastrophically. The very thing that once fueled ambition is replaced by the comfort of connection. Jung took this further, suggesting that every man carries within him a mission, a sense of purpose that defines his existence. This mission is often externalized as career, conquest, or creative achievement. But love introduces a new axis, relationship. Suddenly, the mission is no longer solitary. The need for validation shifts from the world at large to the intimate sphere of a partner's approval. The hero's journey becomes a lover's compromise. Modern research confirms these ancient intuitions. Studies show that men in the early stages of love experience a surge of dopamine and oxytocin, the same chemicals that drive addiction. The world narrows. Priorities shift. The mission, once clear and uncompromising, becomes blurred by the desire to maintain harmony, to avoid conflict, to please. In this altered state, men can become vulnerable to manipulation, complacency, or even self-sabotage. The drive that once propelled them forward is redirected, sometimes to their own detriment. Consider the inner monologue of a man who has just fallen in love. The ambitions that once kept him awake at night now seem less urgent. The risks he once took without hesitation now feel reckless. He begins to weigh his decisions not just against his own goals, but against the needs and expectations of another. In the name of love, he may silence his own voice, shrink his own dreams, and surrender his power, often without even realizing it. This is not to say that love is inherently destructive, but it is a force that demands balance, awareness, and self-mastery. Without these, the very psychology that once made a man powerful can become the mechanism of his undoing. The mind's wiring, shaped by evolution and culture, can turn love from a source of strength into a subtle, seductive weakness. And in that transformation, the seeds of power's loss are quietly sown. In the modern world, love is no longer just a private affair. It's a public spectacle, a commodity, a story sold to us in 1,000 different ways. Society, with all its subtle machinery, has learned to weaponize love, turning it into a tool for shaping behavior, controlling ambition, and even selling products. The result is a culture where men are quietly encouraged to trade their power for the illusion of acceptance, comfort, or validation. Consider the messages woven into the fabric of consumer culture. From the earliest days of advertising, love has been used as bait. The right car, the right cologne, the right suit, each promises not just status, but the affection and admiration of others. The implication is clear. To be loved, you must first conform, you must first buy in. The pursuit of love becomes inseparable from the pursuit of approval, and the boundaries between self and society begin to blur. Hollywood, too, plays its part. The silver screen is filled with stories of men who sacrifice everything for love, ambition, friendships, even their own sense of self. The happy wife, happy life mantra is repeated so often it becomes a kind of cultural hypnosis, a script that men are expected to follow without question. In these narratives, love is not a partnership, but a transaction. Give up your dreams, your boundaries, your power, and in return, you will be rewarded with peace and acceptance. Thinkers like Aldous Huxley warned of a future where pleasure and comfort would become tools of control, more effective than any whip or chain. Erich Fromm, in his analysis of modern love, argued that society has transformed love from an act of freedom into an act of conformity. We are taught to seek love not as a path to self-realization, but as a way to fit in, to be normal, to be safe. Social media amplifies these pressures. Every post, every like, every carefully curated image reinforces the idea that love is a performance, a competition, a measure of worth. Men are bombarded with images of what they should be: sensitive yet strong, successful yet self-sacrificing. The result is a quiet erosion of boundaries, a slow surrender of power in exchange for fleeting moments of validation. Is love, then, truly liberating? Or has it become a tool of control, a way for society to shape men into more manageable, predictable, and compliant versions of themselves? The answer is not simple, but the question is essential. In a world where love is weaponized, the greatest act of rebellion may be to reclaim it, not as a surrender, but as a conscious, deliberate choice. In the digital age, the landscape of love and power has shifted in ways our ancestors could never have imagined. Technology has not only changed how we connect, but also how we define ourselves, our desires, and our sense of purpose. The modern man stands at a crossroads, pulled in every direction by forces both seen and unseen. Dating apps promise endless possibilities, yet often deliver only fleeting connections. The swipe culture reduces romance to a numbers game, where attention is currency and validation is measured in likes and matches. In this new marketplace, men are encouraged to present curated versions of themselves, sensitive yet strong, ambitious yet accommodating. The pressure to be everything at once is relentless, and the cost is often authenticity. The attention economy thrives on distraction. Every notification, every message, every new match is a call to abandon the present moment, to chase the next hit of dopamine. In this environment, the pursuit of love becomes a pursuit of novelty, and the depth of connection is sacrificed for the thrill of the chase. The result is a generation of men who are constantly searching, but rarely finding, caught between the desire for intimacy and the fear of losing themselves in it. This confusion has given rise to new archetypes. The simp, a man who sacrifices his own needs and boundaries for the hope of affection, is both mocked and pitted. The incel, isolated and resentful, represents the dark side of a culture that promises love but delivers loneliness. Both are symptoms of a deeper crisis, a crisis of masculinity in a world where traditional power structures are dissolving and new ones have yet to take their place. Statistics reveal the depth of this struggle. Rates of male loneliness, depression, and suicide are rising. Fewer men are forming lasting relationships, and many report feeling lost, unsure of their role in a rapidly changing world. Personal stories echo these trends. Men who once defined themselves by their ambitions now find themselves adrift, unsure whether to pursue love, power, or something else entirely. Interviews with psychologists and social critics reveal a common theme. The modern man is caught in a paradox. He is told to be vulnerable, but not weak, to lead, but not dominate, to love, but not lose himself. The rules are unclear, the expectations ever-shifting. In this age of distraction, the greatest challenge may be to find a sense of self that is both powerful and loving, a self that can withstand the noise and confusion of the modern world. The dilemma is real, and the stakes are high. For many men, the search for love has become a search for identity, a quest to reclaim power not over others, but over themselves. If love has the power to unravel a man, does it also have the power to make him whole? The answer lies not in rejecting love, but in learning how to love without losing oneself. This is the art of breaking the spell, a conscious, deliberate act of reclaiming power within the very heart of intimacy. Philosophers like the Stoics taught that true strength comes from within. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man's happiness depends on his own thoughts, not on the whims of others. In the context of love, this means maintaining a sense of autonomy, a core of self that remains unshaken, even in the throes of passion. Love, then, is not a surrender of will, but a meeting of equals. It is the choice to share your life, not to give it away. Existentialists like Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir took this further, arguing that authentic relationships are built on freedom and responsibility. To love another is not to lose yourself in them, but to stand beside them as a whole person. It is to recognize that your mission, your purpose, does not end where love begins. Instead, love becomes a force that amplifies your journey rather than derailing it. Modern relationship psychology echoes these ancient truths. Healthy relationships are those where both partners maintain their individuality, their ambitions, and their boundaries. Mutual respect is the foundation, each person supporting the other's growth rather than demanding sacrifice. Real-life examples abound. Couples who pursue their own passions, who communicate openly, who refuse to let love become a cage. These are the relationships that endure, that empower, that inspire. Breaking the spell requires vigilance. It means noticing when you begin to shrink, to silence your own needs, to compromise your values for the sake of harmony. It means having the courage to speak your truth, to set boundaries, to walk away from relationships that demand your power as the price of admission. It means redefining love, not as dependency, but as partnership, not as comfort, but as challenge and growth. The journey is not easy. It demands self-awareness, discipline, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. But the reward is profound, a love that does not diminish, but elevates, a power that is not lost, but transformed. In this new vision, love and power are not enemies, but allies, each making the other stronger, deeper, more resilient. To break the spell is to reclaim your mission, to stand tall in the presence of love, and to build a relationship that is worthy of your highest self. This is the path forward, not just for men, but for anyone who seeks to love without losing who they are. Throughout history, men have stood at the intersection of love and power, often forced to choose between the two. The stories we've explored of ancient heroes, fallen kings, and modern men reveal a pattern that is as relevant today as it was centuries ago. The pursuit of love, when misunderstood, can become a path to self-abandonment. But when approached with awareness and intention, it can be a source of strength, resilience, and true partnership. As we reflect on this journey, the question remains, what does it mean to be powerful? Is it the ability to dominate, to conquer, to stand alone? Or is it the courage to remain true to oneself, even in the face of love's most seductive promises? The answer is not found in the extremes, but in the balance, a balance that allows for both vulnerability and autonomy, both connection and independence. True power is not lost in love itself, but in the quiet surrender of purpose, boundaries, and self-respect. The men who endure, who thrive, are those who refuse to let love become a reason to shrink. They are the ones who see love not as a finish line, but as a new beginning, a partnership that challenges them to grow, to lead, and to remain whole. For the next generation, the challenge is clear: to redefine what it means to love and to be powerful, to question the scripts handed down by society, to reflect on their own values, and to choose a path that honors both heart and mission. The future belongs to those who can love deeply, fiercely, and without losing themselves. The choice, as always, is yours. Beneath the surface of every love story lies a shadow, a place where affection can twist into obsession, and the longing for connection can become a desperate need for control. This is the dark alchemy of love, a territory mapped by Carl Jung as the shadow's self. The hidden parts of our psyche that we deny, repress, or refuse to acknowledge. For many men, the fear of losing love does not lead to quiet resignation, but to a frantic, sometimes destructive, attempt to hold on at any cost. History is littered with cautionary tales. Consider the tragic love affairs of artists and rulers, men whose passion, once a source of inspiration, became a force of ruin. The composer Hector Berlioz, driven to the edge of madness by unrequited love, plotted revenge and self-destruction. King Henry VIII, unable to accept rejection, turned his desire into tyranny, reshaping the fate of a nation in the name of love. In these stories, the loss of power is not a gentle fading, but a violent struggle, a refusal to let go, even as everything else is lost. Psychology offers a chilling explanation. When love becomes entangled with identity, the threat of loss feels like annihilation. Jealousy, possessiveness, and even violence can emerge as desperate strategies to reclaim what is slipping away. The shadow self, once hidden, takes the wheel. Men betray their own values, sabotage their own happiness, and sometimes destroy the very thing they claim to cherish. Literature and film noir have long explored this territory. From the doomed lovers of Wuthering Heights to the obsessive antiheroes of modern cinema, we are drawn to stories where love and power become indistinguishable from domination and self-destruction. Society, too, often romanticizes these patterns, portraying jealousy as proof of passion or control as a sign of devotion. But beneath the surface, the cost is immense. Broken relationships, shattered lives, and a legacy of pain. The line between love and power, devotion and destruction, is razor thin. To ignore the shadow is to risk being consumed by it. The challenge, then, is not to deny these darker impulses, but to recognize and integrate them. To seek a love that liberates rather than possesses, that empowers rather than consumes. Only by facing the shadow can we hope to build relationships that are both passionate and free, both powerful and humane. For centuries, the search for power has been framed as a battle against the outside world, a quest to conquer, to achieve, to dominate. But what if the true path forward is not about controlling others, but about mastering oneself? In the aftermath of love's trials and the loss of power, a new possibility emerges: the journey of self-mastery. Ancient philosophies have long pointed to this truth. The Stoics taught that the only true power is over one's own mind and actions. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca all wrote of the importance of self-discipline, of cultivating an inner fortress that cannot be breached by the chaos of the world or the turbulence of the heart. In the East, the teachings of the Tao and the practices of Zen emphasize the strength found in stillness, the clarity that comes from solitude and self-reflection. Modern neuroscience now confirms what these sages intuited: the ability to regulate one's emotions, to pause before reacting, to choose one's response. These are the hallmarks of emotional intelligence, and they are directly linked to resilience, satisfaction, and authentic power. High-achieving individuals, whether in sports, business, or the arts, often speak of the discipline required to maintain focus and purpose, even in the face of intense relationships or public scrutiny. Self-mastery is not about isolation or emotional detachment. It is about entering relationships from a place of abundance rather than need. When a man knows who he is, what he values, and what he stands for, he becomes less susceptible to manipulation, dependency, or self-betrayal. He can love deeply without losing himself, give without resentment, and walk away when necessary without fear. Stories abound of men who have faced the crucible of love and emerged stronger. Athletes who found balance between their passion and their partners. Thinkers who used solitude to clarify their purpose. Everyday individuals who learned, sometimes painfully, that true intimacy requires both vulnerability and boundaries. Power, then, is not something to wield over others, but a state of being rooted in self-awareness and intentional action. The journey toward love and power is not a zero-sum game, but a lifelong process of growth, reflection, and conscious choice. In mastering the self, men reclaim not only their power, but their freedom to love fully, fiercely, and without fear.